Let's take you live to a Constitutional Hill in the heart of Johannesburg, where the Constitutional Court is celebrating its 30th anniversary. Vuyo Mvoko is there and joins me now live. A very good evening to you, Vuyo. It seems the proceedings have ended on a momentous occasion today.
They have indeed, Masa. A few minutes ago, the Chief Justice Mandisa Maya, made concluding remarks, of course, giving a vote of thanks as well. But the penultimate speech, of course, belonged to the former Chief Justice, her predecessor, and that is Justice Zondo, who joins me now to just take us through some of the powerful words that he gave here today, Judge. You had the opportunity to, one, reflect on how this court has done over the past 30 years, but also to talk about the challenges it now faces as it goes forward. Remind us again of what you said were some of the challenges. You didn't go through them, all of them, but you mentioned three that you felt really could have held the court back.
Yes. Yeah, well, within the time that one had, one couldn't say a lot of things, so even the speech that I had to cut down in the interest of time. But I did say that in terms of challenges that this court has had, there are a number of them. At a legal level, I mentioned the problems that lawyers would be very familiar with who practice constitutional law, when for many years there was always uncertainty about what a constitutional issue is, in which case, if it was not a constitutional issue, the constitutional court would not have jurisdiction. And that went on for a very long time. And actually, there was a time when there was tension between the Supreme Court of Appeal and the Constitutional Court, because the Supreme Court of Appeal took the view at the time that it was the final court in non-constitutional matters which was correct constitutionally, and then the Constitutional Court was the final court on constitutional matters. So it sought to decide matters on non-constitutional matters so that they would not be appealed to the Constitutional Court. And then it took Chief Justice Arthur Chaskalson to remind everybody that all law now has its foundation or springs from constitutional law. So there are no two legal systems. That was one. Another one that I mentioned in passing was the question of what the jurisdiction of the High Court in labor matters is, what the jurisdiction of the labor courts, because there is concurrent jurisdiction sometimes there is exclusive jurisdiction. That has caused a lot of problem for decades. Actually, it's something that I wrote about when I was a young lawyer from university, and it has continued to be a problem for a long time. But I talked about the question of resources in the Constitutional Court, that one, we need experienced lawyers to come in to be employed so that they can assist judges, and two, we also need to have a constitutional amendment in order to make sure that not all judges have to look at every matter that gets brought to the Constitutional Court.
Of course, fascinating for me, Judge, was the successes you spoke about.
Yes.
In other words, what made this court to be as successful as it has been, the trust and confidence South Africans have in it.
Yes. No, I believe that the real success of the Constitutional Court lies in its jurisprudence. It lies in how it has adjudicated matters that come before it without fear, favor, or prejudice. We know, everybody knows of cases where sometimes there would be groups of people who would be attacking the Constitutional Court, attacking its justices. You will probably remember some years back when some politicians from the ANC called judges of the Constitutional Court counter-revolutionary and so on. And of course, you will remember a few years ago when a cabinet minister wrote an article in a newspaper and effectively said judges, High Court judges and Constitutional Court judges, particularly black judges, are like puppets of white judges. It's like they get told by white judges what to decide, which was all nonsense, and I had to come out and deal with that. And as you know, I got some criticism, but it was the correct decision, and fortunately, I'd taken it in conjunction with other colleagues. So there have been all kinds of challenges, but its success, in my view, lies in the fact that people have got confidence that the judges in that court judge cases without fear, favor, or prejudice, and that they have integrity.
Of course, you expressed the hope, Judge, that going forward, the work of the Constitutional Court will speak for itself.
Yes.
But the crowning moment of this must have been the announcement by the executive that finally institutional independence of the judiciary is going to be guaranteed.
Yes. No, that was the best news I've had in a very long time, because it is something that as the judiciary we have been fighting for a long time. Actually, as I mentioned, some of the previous Chief Justice who played a role also. When it comes to, for example, Chief Justice Mogoeng, around about 2013, he submitted to the executive our proposal as the judiciary, what needed to be done in order for us to get full institutional independence, and they just did not respond for 10 years. And that's something I talked about when I became Chief Justice openly, even in my interviews, to say that was unacceptable. We would long have done this. Actually, I was talking to one of the Chief Justices who is attending here from Southern Africa, who was saying, actually, this is such good news because despite the fact that the Constitutional Court of South Africa is the court that a lot of courts are looking to for jurisprudence, when it came to the issue of institutional independence, it's way behind other courts. And that's something that I have said. I said, we have no reason to be so much behind even other countries on the continent when we are leading in terms of this jurisprudence. So I hope that the implementation of the commitment that the President has given is going to be quick, because we don't want another 10 years of no action. But I'm hoping that the implementation will be quick.
Very briefly, and as a parting shot, Judge, to those of us who are uninitiated or who may be taking this for granted, what in very real practical terms does this mean?
It basically means that the judiciary, like the executive and the legislature, would be in control of its affairs. Very much now, I mean, the President mentioned to it, I know if the judiciary want to employ personnel, the executive must come in. They must have a say. But we don't have a say when they appoint their own personnel. If we think there's a need for another courthouse, a court building, another court to be built, they have to make the decision, not us, but it's a place of work for us as the judiciary. I mean, even Namibia, they've got a bill, a judiciary amendment bill that I'm aware of, where previously the power had been given to the executive to make decisions about the building of courthouses and so on. But that power, in terms of that bill, is now going to be moved to the Chief Justice. They are ahead of us. We are not there. So it means running your own affairs without really having to depend on decisions on other arms of state.
Going to them with a begging bowl. Chief Justice, let me thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
The former Chief Justice, of course, the immediate past Chief Justice, I should say, Judge Zondo, who gave that final address at this gathering before it came to an end, and before the current Chief Justice, his successor, Justice Maya, had to then make concluding remarks as well as close this particular day. It's been a great day, reflections, anecdotes, lived experiences of judges of the Constitutional Court, but not only them, but the lawyers who have had to represent represent people in all manner of cases. Those stories being told here today. What a rich history this court has had in the 30 years that it has been in existence. And with that, I hand back to you, Masa, in studio.
Thank you so much for that report, Vuyo, coming through for us for that commemoration of the 30th anniversary of the Constitutional Court